you may be aware that yesterday Barbara Edmonds, the opposition Labor economic spokesman, said were Labor to get back in and get the Treasury benches again, they'd put the moratorium back on energy exploration and they'd close down an industry that may be a beacon of hope in a pretty dull landscape economically at present. On top of that, we also have our next guest being part of a party, and you think a coalition government is all, love and kisses and roses all the time. It's not. The New Zealand First Party has declared an agree to disagree stance with the government, or with the National Party and the coalition government, over new immigration settings for skilled migrants. Both these things indicate that politics is quite a fast-moving, rapid-moving feast, and it is a game that requires, or a profession that requires a fair bit of fluidity. I always think our next guest has been fluid. Shane Jones, the Minister for Oceans and Fisheries, and the newly appointed, I might add, Deputy Leader of New Zealand First. He joins us on the line now. Minister, good morning to you. Thanks for taking the time.
Hey, folks, kia ora. Look, and I'm sorry it had to be so early, but soon I'm joining the Prime Minister in the back blocks of Kaipara, down on the Poto Peninsula, where we're opening up a water reservoir that was funded by my beloved PGF many years ago. It's taken that long to get it up and running.
Provincial Growth Fund coming to fruition.
Yeah, thanks for accommodating me. So it'll be very interesting as the PM gives his speech, and I remind everyone there, oh yes, you thought it was a slush fund, the PGF, but you've all turned out to taste the water.
What does the reservoir do? Who does it service?
So this is an area near Te Kōpuru, which used to be the site of the old hospital in and around Dargaville. And it's about 3.8 million cubic metres of water. It's surrounded by a lot of underutilised farmland, in the sense it could probably be dedicated to a greater purpose. And the piping will deliver the water consistently to Dargaville and for the various businesses that are there and further afield. Because if there's one thing that Dargaville and Kaipara have, it's very fertile land, but as large as the Wairoa River is that flows through it, it kind of looks like a baby's bottom on a bad day.
This sounds like infrastructure, Minister.
Well, it's infrastructure that's been delivered, Sean.
Yeah. Look, the more just what I've got here, the mood of the boardroom survey, which is really only the opinions of 150 businessmen in New Zealand. Where did you rank on cabinet rankings?
Obviously, Winston was number 2, and I think I was number 7 or 8.
7 or 8?
Yeah, so certainly within the top 9 or 10 anyhow.
How do you feel hanging out with a guy today who was only 15?
Yeah, well, the Prime Minister was otherwise occupied, but Nicola Willis, she just took it on the chin and advised people to calm the farm, that she wasn't going to be changing in any significant way the pillars underpinning her economic development approach. Obviously, Winston and I, we've been sacked before, like in 2020. We know that the attitude of the public can never be taken for granted. And I'm just going to get on and continue to deliver on mining and fishing reforms and my beloved oil and gas industry.
Okay. The chattering classes, the journalists, the woke media, of course, will jump on this mood of the boardroom thing and attempt to destabilise the coalition. Is there any advantage at all for New Zealand First, for you guys, were this government not to run its full course? Because, of course, that's going to be the next rumour that's on the word processes of the left media.
Yeah, so if you just step back, you may recall that Helen, in I think 02, they had the winter of discontent. You were probably whipping it along in those days. And one thing that you learned from Helen Clark, she knew how to pivot on the head of a pin. And John Key himself was quite adroit at pivoting, although he got a bit of a sock in the chops yesterday from Nicola. So whoever you are, the ideology that may have prevailed, say, in 2023, we're living in dynamic times, and what you said about fluidity can easily be described as unpredictably and uncertain times. And anyone who doesn't know that uncertainty is your companion, then you don't understand politics. So Winston and I, we're confident and we're doing everything to uphold our obligations in the coalition agreement. And there's no upside for us in creating any rumours of instability, but we've got to deliver for the people who sent us to Parliament. And they sent us with a message of indivisibility. They sent us with a message of growth in economics. They sent us with a message of the state running a tight ship, but the state not withdrawing from the economy. And they did not send us with a message of privatisation or supporting market structures that represent a mortal threat to businesses, as the current behaviour of Ken Taylor's represents in the power sector.
All right. You have agreed to disagree, though, and quite openly agreed to disagree. That's the way these clauses are meant to work. On the latest skilled migrant settings. Why?
So there are many thousands of workers who are already in New Zealand and they hold certain working permits. There's a sense from the employers, if these people have to leave the country at the expiry of their permits, then they'll have to be replaced and get a whole lot of new ones. And Winston has represented our party's position. We're willing for such needed workers to stay in New Zealand and extend their permits. And if they want to become a resident, then they go through the existing arduous, demanding process. And where we differed is that the Minister of Immigration feels that the better thing to do to give certainty to the business owners and certainty to the people who are currently doing these jobs is to fast-track their applications. So it could be 5, 10, 9, 10, 12, 15,000 individuals, but it's likely to turn into 70 or 80,000 people in total that by 2028 will now have enjoyed a fast track to residency, then becoming citizens, and 30% of them are likely to up sticks and go to Australia. So New Zealand First said nah. And it's about time we put the acid on ourselves to train our own people, or every 5 years we're going to continue this hamster wheel-like approach to undertraining New Zealanders and over-relying on foreigners.
Yeah, look, it's a good point. I talked about this on the show earlier this week. A cafe in Wellington saying, we need to have more workers from overseas and more relaxed rules. Well, why don't you pay your workers here or train your own workers to work in your cafe? That would seem the solution to your problem, rather than importing, I guess, cheaper or more pliant labour at the expense of New Zealand citizens.